So the first essay says, Chevening is looking for individuals who will be future leaders or influencers. Future leaders highlighted, influencers highlighted.
I will first look at the key words. That is future leaders, influencers, and home countries. So, for example, in my first sentence, I said something like, my ability to recognize community problems, mobilize people, and drive change defines me as a self-motivated leader. Right? So that was my punchline. And
let's now go into the essays themselves. We're going to spend a couple of minutes on each of the essays. And for the records, these are the actual Chevening essays, except something changes in 2025. But it almost doesn't change, right? It almost never changes, which I don't know in your experience. Does that make it easier? The fact that you already know the questions in advance, or does it make it more difficult?
I think it should be easier when you know that, I think when you know the expectations, it becomes easier. It's just, I think the lack of preparation makes us not know what we are doing. But then when you know that the questions are the same, they're always about leadership, networking, studying the UK, and also, bring out your career plans. I think to anyone who plans ahead, that should be easier for them. But that doesn't make it, that doesn't take away the challenges that it poses. But otherwise, I think if the earlier, the better.
All right. So now that you know this is the essay, let me read it quickly, and then you can focus on some of the keywords that I've highlighted. If I didn't highlight anything that you think, oh, that's also part of the very important things, because they are like the roots of the question, right? The question hides away what Chevening is trying to confirm. So the first essay says, Chevening is looking for individuals who will be future leaders or influencers. Future leaders highlighted, influencers highlighted in their home countries. Home countries, these are my highlights. All right. Okay. If I was approaching this essay number 1, I'm going to be thinking, how do I prove that I'm a future leader? How do I prove that I'm an influencer? How do I prove that I'm connected to my home country? This is the exact word in the questions. Explain how you meet this requirement using clear examples of your own leadership and influencing skills to support your answer. Tell us a bit about each of these keywords, and we can move to the next essay.
Okay, so when you look at the first question of the leadership question, that is the leadership essay question, that Chevening is looking for individuals who will be future leaders or influencers in their home countries. Explain how you meet this requirement using clear examples of your own leadership and influencing skills to support your answer. So how will I approach this essay question? I will first look at the key words. That is future leaders, influencers, and home countries. So what Chevening is trying to ask you here, when they say future leaders, is that what exactly are you doing in your home country? That is going to give us, the evidence to say you have the potential of being a future leader. And that goes us to the stories that you're going to tell. What exactly, have you done in your community? Even if you did a project, for example, for others who are not run, like myself, I'm a social entrepreneur. Others will be working in an NGO, for example, and they worked on a project together with their teammates. But when it comes to a Chevening scholarship or application, sorry, please do not say, we did this. No, 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 no. This is the time now to show what you did as a leader. So in this application, it's very okay to say, I did this, even if you did it with a group or with your teammates. So that really, we are talking about you as a future leader and as an influencer and what you brought on that project, right? And when you say home countries, these are the projects that you did in your home country. You're not going to say, I did this in the US, I did this in the UK. That does not qualify, if I'm not mistaken. If you're from Africa or if I'm from Zambia, definitely I should show the impacts that I have made in my community, Zambia, or in my home country. That's how I understand this question. And explain meets this requirement.
Correct.
Please use clear examples. Like the example I used about myself, working with West speakers in Zambia. So, for example, in my first sentence, I said something like, my ability to recognize community problems, mobilize people, and drive change defines me as a self-motivated leader, right? So that was my punchline. And I put in 2019, I showcased my mobilization and innovation skills by transitioning from a role as a Mandarin Chinese translator, establishing a social enterprise named Plastic for Change. So, do you see that I have touched on something that is going to, interest the reader? So I've said I transitioned from being a Chinese interpreter, right? And then, starting a business, a plastic recycling business. So they're going to dig in deeper. How did this Chinese translator now become a plastic recycler? So they will read more. So those are the kind of punchlines that you should bring in, and you should be very specific. I said in 2019. So also the years are very important to show your growth. So you cannot start in 2025. No, 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 no. You need to write in order, chronological order, so that it will show from the way you began up until your progress is going. So that was my introduction paragraph. So when I went to my body, I said, my impact has grown. I managed multiple community recycling projects on weekends, which raised awareness about the harmful effects of plastic waste and educated people on the importance of responsible waste management practices. Right? So then I went to, as a leader, I went to, how do I solve a problem, right? As a leader, I faced a challenge during the COVID-19 lockdown. So what did I do? Movement restrictions were hindered, waste collection from public spaces. So I shifted my strategy and engaged community leaders to enable residential collection. So then I remember in 2020, there was COVID. So plastic collection was halted. So we were not allowed to go and pick our plastic. So that meant that our business was going down and we had to stop, collecting plastic. So what did I do? So that also highlights a way as a leader and how I'm going to solve my problems. So I also defined this challenge that I encountered in a star approach manner. I started with, how was the situation? What did I do? I went to the community leaders to negotiate on how we can work together. And then what action did I take? I went to the municipal council to ask them if we can hire out their truck so that we can have residential collection. And what was the result? I also highlighted the results. And the most important also I want to tell you is that every essay, your closing paragraph or your ending paragraph should also end with a punchline. You should end very strong. So I said in my ending essay is that in 2023, out of 1,500 applicants, I was among the top 5 awarded a grant by the UKAID, Foreign Commonwealth Development Office. This grant accelerated our work and created nearly 20 green jobs, aligning with the UK government's priority to combat climate change and alleviate poverty in Zambia's marginalized communities. In short, or in summary, my leadership roles have demonstrated my ability to lead and influence change in my home country. Without a doubt, the Chevening Award will enhance my leadership journey.
Great.
Closed.
Well done. So I picked the punchline parts. Punchlines typically like true statements that make the reader sit up, to want to read more, to want to pay attention.
They should be clear. When did I do this? How many people? What did I do? And also talk about my own leadership skills and what I learned from that.
Yeah. So the initiatives you took, you're not trying to say the government did X, the government did Y. Of course, you can use that as like a reason for your own action. You know, if you want to talk about the bad policies of government and then follow it up with your own response to that policy, but you cannot be reporting other people's progress. It's your own initiative that you took, even if you don't own the organization, right? You can still attribute. We'll talk about attribution in a couple of moments. Thank you for that.